Today, I will be doing my presentation on police brutality and discrimination. Police brutality and racial discrimination is mostly a common problem amongst the African American community. Police brutality has been linked to racial discrimination and incarnation of innocent citizens who supposedly fit a certain type of profile. Police brutality is often defined as when a police officer uses a certain amount of force, or when one of these forces being physical, such as beating, torture, and unlawful killings. Police brutality can also come in a form as verbal abuse as well. It is often defined as violating someone's human rights. Police brutality is nothing new, and it has been a thing that has been going on through historical events for a while. The conflict between police officers and African American communities has been around for a while, and it can actually be linked back to slavery times. Back in slavery times, it was called slave patrol. And this is a part of history. This is the part where it all started, between the history between African Americans and police brutality. Slave patrols were seen as police figures back then. They controlled slaves, and they also captured runaway slaves. Now, if a slave patrol were to catch you and you were a runaway slave, you would be beaten, tortured, often whipped, and sometimes even hanged. If you look at this historical event and compare it to police brutality now, you can see that there are links to it. As you can see, police brutality has more to do with just police brutality. It has to do with systematic racism and certain stereotypes that have been ingrained in us and other people since the beginning of times. I hope throughout this presentation I can show you a little bit more that it is more than just police brutality. I can't just talk about police brutality, there's more to it. The article named What the Data Says About Police Brutality and Racial Bias and Which Reform Might Work by Pepples basically talks about the data and research about police racially profiling and police brutality. These topics go hand in hand. You can't talk about one without talking about the other. As I stated before, police brutality is typically linked to racial profiling and discrimination against African American community as well as other minorities. In another article named How Dark Bright Lights Big Cities Racial Profiling shows evidence that Black drivers' chances of getting pulled over compared to other races are 15% more likely to get pulled over during the day than at night. And basically what this article was concluding to was that because police officers are able to see during the day, they're more likely to be racially profiled than at night, where you're not able to see who's in the driver's seat. Not understanding police brutality is the one thing that is keeping it perpetuating. There are also other things that are keeping it perpetuating than not seeing how the media portrays African Americans during police brutality riots and justice riots is also one of the things that is keeping it alive. Part of the reason why police brutality is still a thing today is because police officers aren't held accountable for the actions that they take when killing an innocent civilian. Think about this. If a doctor were to purposely kill his patient, I am pretty sure that doctor would get sued. Not only that, but they would lose their license and they would probably be sent off to prison. Why aren't officers held to the same standards as other medical and professional people? Police officers need to be held accountable for their actions.